This could be a curse. What is up, YouTube? You know what's really funny? So this is gonna be a reading vlog situation, but I have started so many videos in this bathroom after washing my face, and I don't think I've uploaded any of them. I had like a whole get ready with me where I did like a 2020 reflection type situation, and it was cute, but that video did not see the light of day. This video, however, we are exfoliating at the moment with the Glossier solution. Everything is from Glossier because I just did their little quiz. They sent all of the things. That's what we're doing here. But last night, I was blessed. This could be a curse. Who the fuck knows? Not me. But I was blessed by the ARC gods with Better Together, which is Christine Riccio's follow-up to Again But Better, which a lot of people, is this like crooked? This feels crooked when I'm looking at it. I don't know if I fixed it, but a lot of people, this is just rose water, dragged that book when it came out in 2019. I have a whole, I didn't realize the shirt was wet. This is just all kinds of embarrassing. I have a video, I'll leave that linked up in the cards, where I talked about vitamin C serum. I don't know what this is supposed to do, but I think it's supposed to like make your skin glow. I talked about it in 2019 when it came out. I didn't think it was the worst book I read that year. It wasn't the best book I read. Did not make that list, but I definitely have read worse books than Again But Better. And Better Together is supposed to be like a parent trap situation. That was what I was told in like the first little thing. It's like a parent trap situation. So they're sisters, they might not know they're sisters. Very much what You Have a Match by Emma Lord tried to do, which as I'm recording this, I'm filming this, we are still in January. It is the 13th. That year-long reading vlog, I started literally yesterday. I was supposed to continue it today, try to get some of those books knocked out. But then I was blessed by the ARC gods. Now what did I do? Oh, here it is. So You Have a Match for Emma Lord was also supposed to do this, where our main character like found out that she had a sister after taking this like DNA test situation. And that book was a flop because it had nothing to do with the sisterly dynamics, which I think if you're gonna find out you have a sister who's given up for adoption. Also, that book touched on a lot of like different themes because like the mom in that book didn't want to get rid of like their like the sister that was like our main character found out about was her biological like full blood sibling pretty much, and she was given up because her parents were young, but then they like kidnapped the girl back. It was really a lot of information for that book that book just didn't touch on. I don't think Better Together is gonna go there. I also don't know what this reading vlog is gonna look like because I'm still on vacation from work. I was supposed to go back this week. They said we're coming back next week. So I'm about to go make some breakfast, which is probably gonna be like a little breakfasty stir fry situation. I'm gonna do some reading, have my coffee. I don't know. We'll check in a little later. But again, like I'm not doing anything, I'm not going anywhere, so like I don't really know how, I don't know how this is gonna work, but I'll see you guys in a minute. So I finished the first 10%, which is like 8 chapters. We're about to start chapter 9, and I don't think anybody told Christine that the parent trap only works because they're twins, and like Siri and Jamie are not twins, and so I'm assuming based on the interaction that we just had that like Jamie has seen pictures of Siri, like Jamie knows that Siri exists.
but Siri has no knowledge of Jamie, because otherwise the interaction just makes no sense, because it would just be like, oh, this person kind of looks like my father, but like that doesn't mean you're related. And so I don't understand how this is going to continue, where this is going. I am also rather fed up with Siri saying things like excrement, which is clearly a character choice, and clearly a character choice to differentiate her from Jamie, but it's unnecessary. Also, apparently, Jamie is like the comedian sister in Siri. Now that I've read, I can talk a little bit about them. So, like, Jamie like wants to be a comedian, and Siri wanted to be a ballet dancer, but she suffered an injury, so who knows what's going on with her. But we had to suffer through one of Jamie's comedy sets, and she wasn't funny. The book isn't funny. This is going to be painful. I had like really high hopes because I didn't enjoy Again But Better, but like I didn't hate it the way everyone else did, but like maybe I should have. But I'm gonna take a break and get back into sprinting, and I'll check in after that sprint whenever that happens.
So just ignore this messy situation, but I read to 21%, so that's another 11% since the last time I was here checking in with y'all, and I really wanted to enjoy this, okay? Like, I, even in that first, again, like when I read Again But Better, in that review video, I thought I was being very generous, but I was like, you know, it's a debut, maybe, you know, but this book is a little bit better. The characters don't feel so overtly self-inserty, so like the aspects, if they have any, of her personality seem better incorporated into these people. So I do think that there is an element of growth to it, but and some of this I think is just going to be inherently a problem for the plot that she chose, which was to kind of redo the Parent Trap, which, again, as I talked about in my last little update, doesn't work if they're not twins. It doesn't make sense. But I'm just gonna keep reading. We're gonna hope for it to make sense. But the part that I wanted to come here and discuss is the element of the plot that actually makes me feel very gross. And I think part of it is inherent to trying to do the Parent Trap, at least in terms of like the recent discussions of the Parent Trap, where you have like the twins but they get separated. But I think what Better Together does makes it's very it's very gross, and it's kind of it like doubles down on the gross. So what we have is Jamie and Siri's parents, where they were I think they were married. It seems like they were married. They had these girls together. They were together at the very least for a hot second in time, at least 6 years, because that's when the dad leaves with Jamie. But then after they leave, Siri's mom like takes her to therapy and like gaslights this little girl for over a decade. She gaslights her daughter, talking about, oh, you never had a sister, like that was your imaginary friend. Like, that's her daughter. Like, and it's not like, I think it's one thing to have estranged familial relationships between like parents and children if the parents or children are like adults. You know what I mean? Like, if this was a story where Jamie was 35 and she ran away from home at 17, I could understand there being some kind of discord between these two characters, right? Like, I could understand this. But to like act like this little girl who was like literally a 6-year-old child,
who was saying things in this little flashback scene that didn't make any sense for a 6-year-old child to make, like, to say. So I was kind of happy later on when that kind of got addressed. But the idea, like, right, this perception, this notion that the 6-year-old girl, like, we're just going to erase it, and I'm going to tell my 4-year-old daughter that, oh, that was your imaginary friend, you don't have a sister, when she has very clearly been told about her father. Like, Siri knows that her father lives in California. She knows that her father just doesn't, like, contact her. So it's not even like, oh, I'm going to gaslight you about you never having a sister. I'm going to say your father, like, died in a horrific accident. It's like, no, your dad exists. He's a trash human. But that sister you thought you had, imaginary friend. That is completely fucked to me. And I think that much like, I talked about this earlier, but You Have a Match by Emma Lord and this book by, what is this called? Better Together by Christine Riccio feel like so not similar in terms of like plot structure or anything, but they definitely have this estranged sisters meeting at a camp with these very heavy familial themes and things that need to actually like be teased out. And I'm praying at this point that even though the book is horrible, like not a good book, 12 out of 10 at this point, I'm not recommending any of you to rush out and purchase this or pre-order. I'm probably gonna like, publishing companies don't like when you do this. They definitely want you to have your little review go up on like release day or like around release day. I can't sit on this. We are discussing. I need y'all to be prepped and ready to go not to get this book. But I'm praying that because this book doesn't come out until June, I want to say it comes out on June 1st, which coincidentally is, I believe, the same day you can go pick up Ace of Spades, which you should just buy that, not buy this. Because it comes out in June, like, I don't really know the timeline for, like, when their final edits are getting put in. Sometimes it's before arcs, sometimes it's after arcs. Every book seems to be different, but I would hope and pray that one, that this familial storyline is actually going to be important, because both of these parents are just objectively horrible. First, the father for like going to his 6-year-old, talking about your mother is holding us back. And then the mom, again, for gaslighting her daughter for over a decade, almost 2 decades. And again, I don't understand like why we are continuing to publish these YA books where these people are so old. These books, Christine's books, her characters, again, are well into adulthood. This has nothing to kind of do with, I mean, I guess they're like themes of like middle grade themes, like finding yourself and like self-acceptance and all that shit. But like, I do think that if, and this is not anything against, you know, like young adult editors at these, you know, young adult publishing imprints, but I do wonder if like she had an adult editor, like, or like I guess you could be working at the, I don't understand, and I'm assuming if you're editing young adult books, like maybe they have some adult titles on their roster, I don't know, but like this kind, I just think it needs to be like, it needed to be aged up. I think the characters could have stayed the same, but I think the marketing category and whoever worked on it needed to be aged up so we could actually address these themes, because otherwise I'm kind of terrified about what this message is going to be sent to young, I don't know, maybe that's just me being an old man and worrying about the children. That's where I'm at in my life right now. But at 21%, this book is a hot mess. But I need to get back to just doing some reading. But everyone just uploaded because it's Wednesday. So everyone uploaded their little Wednesday videos. So I'm going to take a nice break with that, and then I'll get back to doing some reading, and I'll check back in with y'all. But this book is sending me, and not in a way that I want to be sent. Okay, welcome. Would not be a reading vlog if I did not have some car vlogging. I needed to pick up a library book. The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wong, that came in today. And then I go back to work next week, or this week. If you're watching this, hopefully this is going up on a Monday. Hopefully. That's my aim is for this to be Monday's video. So hopefully that's what's happening. But that means that today, the day you're watching this, was my first day back. And I am out of coffee. So I need coffee in my apartment. Otherwise, I will stop at Starbucks. And that is not something we need to start back up at. So, better together. I am currently at 37%. I think after the first 10%, I went back and I reread the synopsis. I'm gonna turn off my blinker now that I'm in the lane thing. Because I just wanted to make sure we were all on the same page. And the synopsis mentioned a little magical twistical element. And I have to say that this just feels unnecessary. It felt unnecessary and again, but better, because we had to relive the whole book twice where nothing was changed. And then in this one, it's just like, you could literally just have them be twins. You could, like, the whole idea of them not being twins and you're still going to do this again, but better. You're like, this again, but better. This Parent Trap retelling, why? Like, what is the point? Like, for what? For what? And now I'm even more concerned because Jamie's love interest is supposed to be Z. I think it's like Zarar. I don't know. I'm sorry. I should look it up. I should, but I'm not. And it doesn't make sense because that means that he's going to be crushing on Siri, because Siri's the one that looks like Jamie right now. But if it's Jamie, then that means that Jamie's the one that looks like Siri, because there was this whole magical glamour situation that doesn't. I'm talking about it here because it talks about it in the synopsis. So as far as Wednesday is concerned, it's not a spoiler. So that, and I think Z is supposed to be like 32. That might have been Terry who said that they were 32, but in my mind it was also Z. And Siri is only 18. So this 32-year-old is flirting with someone who looks like they're 18, but is really the 20-year-old consciousness. It just becomes so unnecessarily complicated when you add in this weird glamour that doesn't need to be there. I want to say that I am clearly the fool here, because I thought this was going to be a good book. Egg all over my face for that one alone, because like I said earlier, the writing style is definitely better. You can see improvement. But I hate being in Siri's head. So far, again, at the 37% mark, we are just now getting Siri and Jamie in the respective swap locations. So I haven't gotten further in to see if they're gonna deal with the whole gaslighting, fucked up family situation. I'm hoping they do. I'm gonna hold out hope that at the end of this vlog, I will be able to come back and report to you guys that, hey, there is a silver lining. As for who I think would like this, so far, I honestly could not tell you, because I can't think of anybody that would want to read this. Like, if you want this story, I would almost say that You Have a Match is a better book, just because it's not painful to get through. Is it a single perspective? I'm not remembering, but I'm pretty sure it's just a single perspective. It's not a pain to get through. It's a Reese's book club pick, so like, there'll be plenty of people to talk to about You Have a Match. I mean, not that there's going to be like a shortage of people now, but like, You Have a Match is already out. Like, you can read that today. You can see it. And I do think that You Have a Match did the older, younger sister. I mean, there isn't like the Parent Trap element, like they don't switch places. They just kind of uncover why the sister was given up for adoption, which is a much better story to tell if you're going to do like this older, younger thing. So that's where I'm at currently. I'm going to shut up because I'm almost home and I'm probably going to have some Skittles and put off reading some more of this. Because it's like pulling teeth. Okay, so I'm checking in because I started this vlog on Wednesday and I was supposed to finish this before the weekend. It is currently Saturday. Haven't read anything since my last check-in, but Tammy is about to do some reading sprints, so I'm gonna sprint with Tammy. Tammy does very militant, I'll leave her link down below, but she does very militant reading sprints, so, which is what I do in my free time. Like when I used to go live, they would be very wishy-washy. But Tammy inspired me, so when I sprint at my own time, it's like a 25-minute sprint. And then I give myself 10. Tammy only gives 7-minute breaks, but again, Tammy is live, so fair enough. But I'm gonna sprint with Tammy. That should hopefully get us through this. I probably won't check in during the reading sprints, but I'll check in after to update the progress. I think I'm at like 41%. So like I did a fair, let me mute them for a second. So I did a fair amount of reading. So yes, I'm at 42%. So we'll check in again after to see how much, hopefully I'll read the remaining, like what, is that 58? Is that right math? I don't know. Tell me in the comments. Okay, so technically I have finished the book. I have finished reading Better Together by Miss Christine Riccio. I personally don't love to see it because it was an experience, but we are not doing a conclusory situation. So we sprinted with Tammy, like I said in my last little clip it was like 3-hour stream, but like 2.5 hours of reading, so like perfect. I'm just gonna talk about like vague concept-y thoughts that I had from about the halfway point, because I think I checked in, I was at like 42 till the end of the book, and then I'm going to finish running some errands. I need to go to the car wash. I need to buy a few groceries, and then I will be at home and I will sit down, probably still on my phone, so I can just airdrop all of the footage and make my life easy. But okay, so final-ish thought, not final thoughts, but like until the end of the book. So there was a point around like the 50% mark where suddenly each sister's respective love interest was able to see the real them, which I appreciated because otherwise it would have been very weird to me. I also want to say that I have no fucking idea how old Zarar is supposed to be. I don't understand if he's supposed to be like around the same age as Jamie. I feel like there might have been a moment where like we actually got his age, but there was a moment later on in the book after this moment where he could see Jamie and not see Siri, where he talks about how he's not a millennial, so that means he's either the same age as her and like Gen Z, or he's the same age as Terry and is like 30 something years old. Because he's friends with Pilot from Again But Better, I'm leaning more toward him being in his 30s, which is odd to me because that means that the love interest of this book is in his 30s for one of the sisters. I mean, that 10-year age gap isn't that weird. I mean, it's a little weird, but it's not like disgusting because she's like 20. She turns 21 in the book. I'm gonna let y'all live your 20s how you want to live your 20s. But like a 30-year-old love interest, that just seems that seems like a stretch. So to me, I'm like, he can't be. But then he's doing all of these things. I don't know. Maybe because I was like, I lived at home when I went away to college. I wasn't out here renting apartments at 20 years old. Like, maybe that's why it's hard for me to see him like that. But like, there are people that do that. Like, that's a thing that happens in the world. So it's not completely absurd. It was just hard for me to personally, I don't know how old this man is, but I appreciated that. But I still think that this whole like magical glamour situation was just an unnecessary situation. I would have much rather, oh fuck, the car wash is crowded, so we are not doing that. I will go some other time. Luckily, the grocery store I wanted to go to was right around the corner, but it was just weird to me. So that happened. there is one of the sisters, Siri, has a sapphic romance that happens between her and Jamie's best friend Dawn, who was Filipino. Their little love story was a little strange. I don't know if I was like fully here for it, but I do think that it was like low-key, high-key, the best executed part of the plot. Now, I'm not going to talk about the Filipino representation and whether that was done well or not, but that was the thing that happened. Then we had the confrontation moment. I don't think that this book ever adequately addressed what these parents did. And I think that the book tries to have, I can't even remember what his name was, but like the father person, like on the same level as Mara, who is their mom. And I, like, yes, they were both complicit in the act of, you know, separating their daughters and not telling them, like, not telling them where they, like, about, well, or keeping them apart. That's what I'm saying. And, like, agreeing to, like, not contact the daughters. But their dad, like, never tried to convince Jamie that Siri wasn't real. I mean, that would have been really hard because Jamie had very clear memories from being 7 years old with her little sister that she really didn't like. And yes, he was like a douche canoe for out here talking about, oh, your mom was holding us back. Like, her father was in no way innocent in anything, right? But Mara did stuff that was disgusting. Like, for over a decade, she gaslit her daughter, told her that all these things weren't real. None of this was really happening. And I just think that's worse. I think that is far worse than whatever Jane was out here doing. And then the scenes at the end of the novel, there's like a lot of scenes with like Mara trying to reconnect with Jamie, and it's just, it doesn't work. And I think that's another issue. I would have much rather the glamour not be there and having the parents realize before the like Regina George confrontation moment, as it's called in the book, and working through their issues, and have this like weird glamour where we had to see, like, I think in the acknowledgements, Christine calls it like angst, but it's just like pure fuckery. Like, it's just, it's like neither of these parents are good people, but for me, Mara was infinitely times worse. And I almost felt that she was, I don't know if rewarded is the correct word, but I feel like there should have been some consequences to what these parents were out here doing. Like, literally anything would have been better than what we got. So that's where I fall on that. As for how the magic was undone, I did like that. There was I really like sisterly bonding, and I do think that at the core of this book, that was kind of there, even though they were separate for like half of the book. And I do think that this could have gone somewhere. A lot of the issues are wrapped up in trying to do a Parent Trap retelling again. I don't think that, I think the Disney Channel remade the Parent Trap for the Disney Channel. So maybe they're still out here trying to do that, but I just don't know if in 2021 you can retell the Parent Trap and just kind of gloss over how shitty these people were. And I think that's kind of what this book does. Okay, so I figured that we could end this in front of the bookshelf. We could kind of we're gonna pretend that it looks pretty back there. So actual final thoughts on this one. I guess if I had to rate it, which I guess I really don't have to, it's a personal decision. In my spreadsheet, I gave it 2 stars. I said it was a 2-star book, which if you were here from the Twitter thread, which I will link below, and I'll probably tweet the announcement tweet, the promo tweet or whatever, we'll probably have that thread linked. I did say in that it was probably my worst book of the year. I don't know if I could read something worse than this. And that's in terms of reading experience, but having finished it, having actually read from beginning to end, is it the worst thing I've ever read? No, it's not. But I do think that a lot of the issues that it brings up which I've talked about, I've mentioned, I touched upon, like they're just aren't resolved, you know, from the actual gaslighting of Siri for like literally over almost 2 decades. um that's a lot for me, and it doesn't like, it's just like, oh, I'm sorry. The grandparents are like, oh, I'm sorry. Like everyone is just like, oh, I'm sorry I did that thing to you for almost 2 decades, which for me, that's no, not really resolved. So, but the actual like story arcs that each of them go on, like in terms of connecting to the parent that they haven't been with, or like their romance journeys, like again, like they were serviceable, like they are fine. I do think that this is a step up and above Again But Better, and it gave Again But Better 2 stars. I might have since like retroactively put it down to a 1 star, but I do think this is better. I do think that you can see improvement here. Would I want to read a third Christine Riccio book? I don't know. The only thing that I thought that was like really questionable was like there was a moment in the beginning stages where I was like, oh, is Siri and this side character gonna get together? Like, is that gonna be a thing? They're at this ice cream parlor, and one of the flavors is like a mint chip flavor, but has like crickets in it. And they talk about how crickets aren't human food, and I was like, now, ma'am, Miss Christine, would I eat a cricket ice cream? No. I mean, I'm vegan now, so like it's just off the table entirely. But even if I wasn't a vegan, you won't catch me eating crickets. I understand people do eat crickets. I understand that they are like a thing. People eat them. Love that for them. More for them. Wouldn't be me. But like, would I call it like non-human food? I don't know. And in the moment, it really did feel like it felt worse than when Suzanne Collins said that cabbage, like the smell of cooking cabbage, reminded her, or reminded Cornelius Snow that he was like poor and in poverty, and they were impoverished, and that's how we were going to set the scene, with cabbage equating to poverty. And now we got crickets are non-human food. Like, it was very that for me. But other than that, like, there wasn't really anything that took me out of the story. I will say that being in Siri's head was very annoying. It got better as I went along, but she had a lot of mannerisms and tics that I could not really fuck with. All like her and her mother, Siri and Mara, out here with their like pretend curse words that I've never like. When an author wants to use like substitute curse words, that doesn't always bother me. Like, I know that small children, middle school people, some families, they don't use the cursey words. I can respect that for them. Not my life. Y'all been on this channel. But I think that there are established substitutions. And so for it to be like intercoursing and excrement and underworld, like, none of these ever flowed in a sentence, and every time I came across it, it pulled me out of the sentence. And then when you had Jamie pretending to be Siri, Jamie was also using these words, and it was too much for me at times. I did think, like, it was a cute little character building moment, but, like, I got it. Like, so often. And because, like they were substitute curse words that you wouldn't really hear in, like, real life, I felt that they stood out far more than if a character had been like fudge or like flip. Like, literally anything that a normal person might have said somewhere in there. And it's not to say that like people don't use these, but in my 25 years on this planet, I've never heard any of these substitutions. And I think the intercoursing was like the worst one to substitute because it just didn't make any sense. Like, excrement was a lot. Like, that's a very large word to replace a very short word. But intercoursing, intercoursed, it just never flowed in the sentence way that I wanted it to flow in the sentence. Anytime it pulled me out of it. And I was like, if you really don't want to curse that badly, then I don't think you would substitute that frequently. It would be, like, it would have to be, like, you know what I mean? Like, if you are so against the cursey words, I don't think you would just plop in and be like, intercourse, instead of going like, fuck. Like, it wouldn't be that word. Like, you would just, I don't know. I'm not that person, so I don't really know how those people think. But it did pull me out of the story quite a bit. And then again, Jamie, I thought Jamie was boring. Jamie had like this arc where she kept comparing herself to like literally everybody. But also like Jamie's arc was her trying to be a comedian, and I didn't think that any of the scenes where we had to see her like tell jokes were funny. So even when she was trying to go on this journey, I couldn't be invested in her journey because I didn't think she was funny. And I kind of like, part of Siri's journey is finding a new dream because she has this injury that bars her from doing ballet. And I almost wished that part of Jamie's journey was just realizing that she wasn't funny and that she needed a new dream and that she should work on that dream, but that wasn't ever anything that happened. So that was also kind of sad. As for what I recommend this book, I think that a Christine Riccio is very much like a Sarah J. Maas. I think that if you marginally enjoyed Again But Better, which I think, I still own it. Where is it? This cover is like dirty, so we're gonna try and cover it. But if you marginally enjoyed Again But Better, like you thought that this book was halfway decent in any way, then I think that you would probably find something to enjoy in this book, Better Together. Because again, I do think that the characters are less obviously self-inserty. They are, like, I found them annoying. Like, it was hard for me to read some of those chapters, but I do think that they were well realized. They were consistent. And even though I didn't personally connect with a lot of their journey moments, it really is not the worst book I've ever read. And I do think that they're, in terms of like craft and everything, it is better. Again, some of the world building elements are weird because Again But Better is attached. We know that Spotify exists in this world. We know that Instagram and Twitter are real in this world. So like some of like the new renamed social media doesn't make sense to me. Like I don't understand why we'd have like Twitter, Instagram, and Spotify, but also Tunder, Hunge, and what was it? Click Clock. That seems stupid to me. Like some of the choices don't really feel thought out. You know, I think for me in a contemporary, it's all or nothing. Either, and I can understand like wanting to have them so it's like a separate reality because again, like both of these books have like magical elements. I do think the magical element here was maybe explained more. I don't know. I don't understand why either of these books have this magical mystical element. I think that's also a point of contention. If you did not like the magical mystical elements of Again But Better, do not read this book because again, as much as the Parent Trap elements were kind of what drugged the story down, just as much the magical mystical elements did. Because I think that this could have just been a story, even if you didn't want to do twins, like you were dead set on doing a Parent Trap telling, like retelling with someone who was a couple years older and a couple years, like, you know, like the age difference there. I think that it still would have been a better book to just have them do some makeup and just have them look similar. But I think if people can confuse like Isla Fisher and Amy Adams, or Margot Robbie and who was it? The one that's in, what was she? What is her name? I think it's Jamie Presley? Margot Robbie, Jamie Presley, and then the younger one who's on Sex Education. Like, and then there's people who are like, all those white men look the same. I don't think you need the magical, you know what I mean? Like, I think that you could have, and they tried to, like, when the beginning, they're trying to just like use like makeup and like they're doing the Parent Trappy things. And so to add on this magical mystery thing, it just made the story so convoluted that if those elements in Again But Better didn't work for you there, I don't think that there is like, there's growth as a writer, but there's not a whole lot you can change about those elements. Like those elements, the magical mystical stuff, working or not working, it's going to be about the same. So again, I find it hard to like fully drag this the way that I think I did in the Twitter thread, which again, link down below. Because I don't, like, I hated the time that I spent reading it and I suffered a lot, but it wasn't because it was a terrible book, if that makes sense. This was just very clearly, it was an improvement, but not enough of improvement. And I think that if her third book ditched the magical mystical stuff and it just had a nice plot that was kind of messy, that wasn't drugged. Like, I think this book probably would work better for me if we didn't have that. I think without that, it would have been a solid 3-star read. Because again, these parents are horrible. So this this just didn't click. It didn't click for me. It didn't click. But I don't regret reading it. I'm happy to have read it. This review is coming out exceedingly early because this book, again, I think it comes out on June 1st. I think it's June 1st. Which again, I still would recommend that you pick up Ace of Spades on June 1st instead. Like, that's a book you definitely need to purchase. This is a book I think that if you are going to read it, if you've made it this far into the vlog, you've decided, I don't care what Monty said, I don't care about the Twitter thread, I love Christine, I'm gonna read it. I mean, well, at that point, you probably already pre-ordered. But even if like, I don't care, I'm still curious, get it from the library. If it's available to you, I understand that library is not available everywhere. But if it is available, that is an option, then I say get it from the library. But this is the kind of the part of the video where I would usually say, let me know your thoughts down below. But we're in January. The book doesn't come out until June. So you can't leave your thoughts down below. But what you can do is put this emoji down there and let me know if you're still interested, if you've already pre-ordered. And then in June, I will share the video again on Twitter. I'll tweet it out so y'all won't forget this. And then if you're watching after it comes out, like you're one of the late people who is actually watching this after you've read the book, then leave your thoughts down there. Because I do think that this has some conversation starters. There's definitely a lot in this book that I didn't touch on that I can think of off the top of my head. But I'm gonna go because this is supposed to like round it out, and this clip alone is like 20 minutes. So thanks for watching. Remember that emoji, and I'll see you guys soon with another video. But until then, and until next time, bye.